Umba ariya ari umba ariye iye umba ariya ari umba ariye iye. Hello, everybody. As you know from the teaser,
Hello, Amy.
can you hear me? Just nod. Okay. As I said on my introduction, my name's Kyrie, and yes, the T is silent. I started writing poetry back when I was a child, probably into my early teens. And I wrote off and on over the years. I got back into it in my late 20s writing songs. I picked up a guitar, I learned how to play a guitar, and I started writing songs. So I have done a few open mic nights and I've been out sharing my songs that way, but I hadn't written a lot of poetry up until lockdown happened. And the first 2 months of lockdown, I was being not only a mother, but a teacher. So I didn't really have a lot of time. But once we got into the swing of knowing how to deal with the homework that we had to deal with, I got to sit down and I started writing a bit, and I discovered GarageBand, or GarageBand, if you want to call it in England. And I learned how to produce my own music. This has led to me starting to write again, and it's come back in full force. I'm now to the point where I'm writing every day. And so I've sent about 3 poems in the little book that's being produced. But I'm going to do 8 poems today if I have time. If I don't, that's okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to start. The first one that I've written, okay, my poems are, I'm going to talk a bit more. My poems are a lot about my own inner process, what's happening, how I am letting go of things, how I'm transitioning from one thing into another, whether it's because I'm divorced, my marriage, into being single again, but transitioning within myself, seeing things about myself and letting go and getting closer to who I think I really am and actually who God wants me to be. So the first poem that I'm going to read is called The Gift of Being. Okay. To really be seen, to really be heard, takes an honest observer and a silent word. The attention that's longed for, that was not always given, in the way that was needed, must be forgiven. For the sins of the father land in the present, repeating the pattern, if only a remnant. Manifesting in new form unrecognized, paying it forward in a clever disguise. But you know it's there, this thing you've been lacking, a sense of self-worth. The facade is now cracking. The beast is emerging, it has been exposed. King and queen ego must be deposed. No one will scream off with their heads, for they too have their place. They're there until death. The trick is to learn which beast to feed, to let go of desire, bring it back to pure need. There's a simple solution. Acknowledge the hurt. Take seeds of forgiveness, plant them in rich earth. Water with love, tend them with care. Be patient with growth, careful not to compare. Hold this child inside you with an outlook sanguine, accepting the gift, the joy of just being. So that's my first poem. And yeah, like I said, these are all kind of, I'm not reading them in progression because it has been a progress. It's been just realizing things and I'm more comfortable with myself. I do feel a bit nervous. I am shaking a bit because I do tend to get nervous when I talk in front of people. But that's okay. I'm learning not to be. If anybody has any questions, do we save them for the end, or do you want to ask now?
For the end. So you
Okay.
first, we listen to you, and then we start the conversation.
Right. Okay, the second one is called Winter Morn. And when I say morn, it's not morning. And I wrote this last week. Winter Morn. The darkness of the winter morn lifts quietly from the frozen ground. It sends a shiver down my spine to where silence dwells, a preternatural sound. Rising mist and echoed calls. Birds follow bliss in hallowed halls. This winged dance leaves me enthralled, reminiscent of my spirit, unconfined by walls. Find a place where time stands still, where the struts and beams have settled with chill. Cryogenically rooted, no means to fulfill the intimate quest for the Holy Grail. These damp recesses must be explored, not for gain or for just reward. So light the torch that was ignored, now genuine order can be restored. The darkness of the winter morn lifts quietly from the frozen ground. It sends a shiver down my spine to where silence dwells, a preternatural sound. Okay. So this next one that I've written, I have an 8-year-old son, and my son is absolutely lovely. And he has had a very difficult time in his life learning to deal with his emotions. We thought that possibly he was on the spectrum, but I think it's just been who he is and his process of learning to deal with life. I am pleased to say that he is, knock on wood, improving immensely. He's very happy this year in his class, but I wrote a poem that expresses my feelings around that. It's called Bigger, Stronger, Wiser, Kind. How can I be kind when I'm feeling compromised? How can I be with when the chasm goes on for miles? I don't know what to do when your screeches fill my ears. That spine-tingling sound makes me want to disappear. I'm meant to be the person who knows what's best for you. As I try to guide your actions, you just want to break the rules. An awkward, stilted dance we're both wrestling to lead. We're like a push-me-pull-you, unsure how to proceed. I know you love me more than any words can say, but when you lash out with hateful words, I want to walk away. I know that you don't mean them, but somehow they cut so deep and touch a wound that's in my heart, awakening old grief. I have tried the bigger, stronger approach, but it makes me feel mean. I have tried the kinder, softer way, but that is seen as weak. The answer lies with wisdom and the balance of the two. Be bigger, stronger, wise, and kind, so I can help you through. I won't always be perfect, and I'll do the best I can to show you that I love you and help you to become a happy man. Okay, thank you. Okay, this next one. So I also like to look at the way the world is changing and what is happening in the world, because sometimes it absolutely amazes me. Okay, so this is called, Can You Fit Inside My Pocket? Can you fit inside my pocket? I want to keep you close. Holding memories for profit, precious moments are exposed. Virtuality incarnate, shaping minds predisposed to existing as the target with their history disclosed. The prophets are now profiting, and idols make us idle. Is anybody questioning what it will take for our survival? The best and all the worst of us is now stored and used with purpose. We are the main commodity, the center of a tech circus, center ring of a tech circus. We look down daily. No one is not affected. From the very young to very old, so from the very old to very young, the blue light has connected. It sucks us in and sucks us dry, our animation now suspended. Bodies growing sedentary, brains have been apprehended. The prophets are now profiting, and idols make us idle. Is anybody questioning what it will take for our survival? Can you fit inside my pocket? I want to keep you close, never taking you for granted. You're the one that matters most. So can you guess what that's about? Okay. So I know all of my poems so far have been rhyming. And I do have a tendency, I think, to sound a little bit like Dr. Seuss, because I read a lot of Dr. Seuss as a child. And I think that's probably where my love of poetry really started. So I get I think it's iambic pentameter going on, I think. This one is called Two Words. Cast into the shadows, fall from grace, blazing like a shooting star across the night sky, to land in a land of frozen fire and scorching ice. No heat to warm the soul, for the soul has been stripped. No dew to quench the infinite thirst. The droplets vaporize even before forming. Existing between all things, decaying evermore. Silently seeping into being, creating screams in the night that are welcomed through ignorance, through distraction, through cunning. Each avenue leading to experiential life, vicariously dancing, observing, conniving, and convincing God's chosen to release their grip, to embrace their coveted freedom, to stand in the land along vile creatures and the fallen, clawing, scraping, slithering over everything to make their way back into the folds of the beloved, back into the warmth of the sun, back into eternal bliss, back to their origin. Pride, envy, lust, sloth, gluttony, wrath, and avarice all block the path to redemption. However, these bedfellows are not what cling to the demon. The refusal of two words that stick in its throat. Two words, forgive me.
Wow.
Whew. So I started this next poem by watching Lord of the Rings with my son the other day. And the first line, some people might recognize. It's called Speak, Friend, and Enter. Speak, friend, and enter. That's what the markings said. I've been standing here for so long, sometimes I forget my head. I like my space, and it takes time to let another in. Open the door just to crack, to over-examine the nature of the beast that's been put upon my plate. Is this for the long haul, or will it just deflate? So many have entered, but not many have stayed. I'm the common denominator that will walk me to my grave. Man is born to fire, so I suppose woman is too. The sparks go ever higher when you just play the fool. This revolving door is getting worn. It's spinning on its axis. Building trust from sticks and stones is hardly a good practice. For names can cut just as deep when the perpetrator's skilled at finding its mark among the chinks, and there's blood that can be spilled. I fear bleeding my heart out all over this damn floor. So if you speak, friend, and enter when standing at my door, be prepared to be patient as I slowly let you in, to let you see the authentic me, and the real work can begin. Okay. Next one. Where is it? Right. This one's quite long. Well, ish. This is called the G word. And again, looking at society. Grace is granted when the gracious request. We dare not speak its name. Angered masses look to the past, atrocities for which there's blame. New idols have risen, convincing the sheep the wolves have abandoned the plain. Stuck in the mire, our progress is dire, subjugated with no will to complain. With a sly sleight of hand, we are given the world as the other takes freedom away. The rules have now changed, coercing our minds with manufactured news of the day. Distraction techniques, facing time while birds tweet as souls that tick-tock join the fray. Millions now aspire, virality for all to admire, and peace of mind is on the decay. In a parlor of games, humanity plays siding with the devil we know, convinced of the fact that we go it alone, not a part of above or below. Using our time to plant bombs like seeds, expecting something to grow. No longer inspired, focused on our desires to have and to eat our gâteau. So keep looking out on the horizon that looms. Ignore the warnings you've heard. Stay glued to the screen until crying eyes bleed and the lines we've crossed become blurred. We stand on the edge of a long, long, long drop, the technological evolution of Earth. We've bought into the lie with a log in each eye, the non-existence of the G word. Okay, what else do I have? So I think this is my last one. And again, this one's a bit more personal. And it's called Forgotten to Remember. As a newborn just arrived, I held all possibility in my small hands. So much riding on this empty vessel. Such a small thing looking into the marvelous abyss with wonder. Evening summer skies of purple and pink, the light of the moon, full moon dancing on the ocean, the icy taste of a snowflake melted to crisp water on the tongue. A time of senses bursting with simple pleasures. A time of talking to the angels and the stars. A time of trusting the answers I felt in my core. Little by little, bit by bit, fear crept in. Fear introduced doubt, and doubt welcomed manipulation. Together, we found the never-ending road of forgotten. My innocence was the first to abandon me, though I wore my good shoes well, always walking away from those that looked too closely, stayed too long. Then it all started to fall like dominoes. The morning breath of each feigned love arrived on the wings of a kiss goodbye. Another memory stored in my rucksack, and the list of ghostly companions exponentially blossomed, supporting my weighted spirit through the good, the bad, and the ugly, until the ugly became unbearable. The bad dug in its heels, and the good, forgotten. Self-punishment became the norm. The norm became numbness, the numbness creeping in with each in-breath, saturated with denial, enveloped in rage, loathing mistaken for love. Love, sharp and deep. piercing, delving, revealing the remnants of a conversation that began at birth, that was misplaced along the way, found again, exposed to the sun, a beam pushing through each incision in my heart, illuminating my shadowy companions, releasing them from the gravity of despair, returning from whence they came, leaving me empty. A vessel to again receive the angels and the stars, all the divinity of the universe flowing into and out of my being in the land called Remember. So that's my last one.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Thank you, Kyrie.
Thank you for
Oh.
listening. I don't know if anybody has any questions. They're all quite self-explanatory, actually, I think.
They're
I
very
have a
clear.
comment because I noticed that in your first three poems that there were references to your spine. And the other thing is that you seem to be able to work successfully as a writer using meter and rhyme in some of your poems and free structure, free verse in others. Do you acknowledge that, see that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just, as I said in my introduction, because I watched it, well, Andrew had me watch it to make sure it was okay. And I said, that's great. They actually write themselves. And what I do, well, yeah, I don't always, but when I'm actually sitting down to write, I just ask to be an instrument for God's divine words and allow them to just come through. So these are kind of like, it's me, but it's not me. And I'm just the messenger.
You're a
That, I
good
mean,
poet.
I've learned. Thank you. Thank you. I think it's like I said in my introduction, it's been like taking the cork off of a champagne bottle that's been shaken for years. All of a sudden, it's just all coming out. So, but I guess I've got lots of material. Yeah.
Liana?
Yeah, I just enjoy sharing a few images that I was touched by, and I really enjoyed your sharing. And then I have a question about a word I didn't understand. I thought you really captured parenting very well, the pain of it and the joy of it.
Thank
That
you.
one poem was just like, it took me back there, for good or for bad. It took me to that feeling. And I don't know which one had the image of brains apprehended. I think it was about technology, and our brains have been taken away, and it's such a time of that right now. A funny thing, when the one forgive that ends with the words "forgive me," my husband's sitting on the couch, and while you're talking about clawing and the primordial whatever, he was acting, and it was interesting to see his response to the images you were presenting. And that was a very rich poem as well.
Yeah.
And then during our Saturday morning Ladihans, I like hearing Ladihan and having it on. So at the end of Ladihan, we talk, and then I wrote a poem about saying I love you into the blue box. And the blue box, of course, is my phone. And I started saying, I love you guys. And at first it was just blank and they go, bye, have a great week. And now I do it every single week. To the point that people are finally saying, I love you back. Somehow that was important to me. These are all my super. Sometimes on the Saturday LA Ladihan, there's 28 and 30 women in that one Ladihan.
Really?
So that's actually, yeah.
That's wonderful.
There's a usual 28 that come to it. And the other point was the image, the incisions in my heart. Believe it or not, I had a heart stent put in at 59 years old, and I never have once, I picture it there and hope it'll live the rest of my life in there, but I've never pictured the incisions in my heart, which is a wonderful image, both real and emotional. So I can do that and make a film out of that. The only question I had was, and I don't have the word, you said it several times in the second poem, it was a preternatural or preternatural? I've been-
Preternatural means
Yeah.
beyond. Here, let me just get the.
Preternatural, it's all one word, preternatural.
Yeah, Preternat. Yeah, preternatural, and it's like it's a silence beyond silence. So that's kind of what it's.
Beautiful.
Okay, I haven't heard that term, but I do, I will.
Oh,
look
I
it up.
use this wonderful website called Word Hippo, and because well,
I looked at your introduction and it seems so fun. You want to tell how it works? I couldn't quite get it.
okay,
by the-
so it's just wordhippo.com, word HIPPO.com.
You can write it into the chat. You see the chat box. So you just, if you write it, so everyone can just.
Okay. I'm on an app, so I don't know if I have a
I'll
chat
write
box.
it in.
You
I
write.
can write it
Stefan
in.
is doing it. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got you can type in phrases and then or words, and it gives you the option of getting a similar phrase or word, or an opposite phrase or word, or a rhyming. It's amazing. And
Wow.
for my poetry, it's been great, because I think as poets, as you probably all know, sometimes you get stuck with the same words over and over again. It's also expanding my vocabulary incredibly, which is great. I like it, but it's very helpful, very, very helpful.
Whatever you're using, it's working, because I really enjoyed this reading today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out and watching. And I've actually never done a poetry reading before, so.
Wow.
A wonderful first.
I'm discovering the performer in me. I'm letting her out.
Yeah, she must have been there when you were doing the like the singing and other at times in the past.
Oh, definitely.
You
And
went backstage a bit.
yeah, and I danced for 13 years. So I am used to being on stage. And I
Is
think
that contemporary? What kind of dancing?
ballet and jazz, contemporary jazz. Yeah, that was a long time ago, but I think that's actually given me a basis for putting music together, because I know rhythms and I know timings, and it's really helped, because I'm not a trained musician. I just have picked it up, and my family's quite musical, but I've never actually done anything professional. I've never trained. It's just, I do. And if anybody wants to listen to any of my music, it's on SoundCloud under Kyrie.
Kyrie.
On
I
what?
will go there.
SoundCloud.
Mhm.
So I can.
And it's just under my name, first name. So yeah, I've just been having fun.
Oh, come, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really was touched by Bigger, Stronger, Wiser, Kind. And I think I may have read it, but hearing it, it really went in. It brought up a lot of feeling, including some regret, because I wasn't always big, strong, wise, or kind, although I intended to be. But it really put everything in a context, and the sort of all the different things to balance, and the fact that, you know, at time I was a stepfather of 3 children, and I'd always been good with kids, but it's so different when you're actually in the home. And I thought I would be big and wise and kind, but sometimes I lost that entirely. And just to hold it all in balance and not to take things too personally, it's such a thing. But
It's
you
hard.
expressed it so clearly, so well, and all the dynamics of it in a nutshell. I really treasured that.
Well, that actually, I did a parenting course to help me help my son. And their motto is being on a scales, you have bigger and stronger on one side and kind on the other side. If you tip too far into the bigger, stronger side, you become mean. And if you tip too far to the kind side, you're perceived as weak.
Yes.
So you have to balance it with wisdom in the middle. And I know in my family growing up, my mother was seen as the weak one, and my dad was always seen as, oh, you don't get him upset. You know, he didn't blow up or anything. He was a headmaster, so he was very used to dealing with children, and he would just have to look at you with the disappointed look. So,
Yeah.
but
Richard. Mhm.
yeah, and being a single mom, just have been having to learn how to kind of do both, because not having both in the household, and that poem came out of it. So it's been good to process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Richard?
Oh, I should have changed my name. I always forget to
Oh,
do that. It should be
I
Theo.
forgot. Yeah, of course. You're
And,
not Richard.
Right. Well.
Hi,
anyway.
Theo.
Hi.
I
Yeah, I
think,
like
yeah.
the one about your son too. It was very poignant. I mean, it shows the pain that both of you were going through. And I know occasionally I've had that feeling of helplessness, although I think for me that's come more since my children became adult. In certain cases, they're all in their 40s now. And sometimes I feel like I get off on the wrong foot with them. And I'm not always sure quite why or how to deal with it. That's more to the point. Another one that I particularly liked was the fifth one, where the words "forgive me."
2 words.
Yeah, 2 words. That was that really kind of hit home. And the G word, I assume that means God.
Yes.
That was a marvelous description of everything we're losing right now in this world. It's pretty awful. But I think for me, the last poem was just like another level above any of the others. I don't know why, but it just had particular power for me. It seemed less like perhaps Dr. Seuss, which is fun. Nothing wrong with that. But the 8th one was just like, whoa, that just hit me really hard. It's one that I want to go back and reread because I didn't understand it.
Hi, just Salima, I just wanted to thank Kyrie so much. I really enjoyed the poems. And just to note some of the things that struck me. So this came up before from someone else, where the silence dwells a preternatural sound. That's really great. That's wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
then, yeah. And then I missed because there was some poem that opened with, "Can you fit inside my pocket?" And you said, you know what that is, but I didn't know what it was.
It's a phone. It's
What?
a phone. A phone.
Oh, okay.
So when you have them emailed to you, if you reread them, you'll get it. I've got a couple of other funny ones, but I didn't print them out. Yeah, I wasn't sure how risque this group would be. So it's totally risque. I did a poem about kind of the battle of the sexes, but not more about women because I'm a woman. About it's in.
You willing to share it?
Let me grab my phone. 1 second.
I'm not
It's in
finished.
your pocket.
Oh, am I going to get let in on some secrets here?
She's coming back.
I'm right here. My house is not that big.
Halima was still kind of
Go
saying
on.
something.
Go on.
Let me just finish because otherwise they're gone. They're gone. And the other thing that somebody else commented on was the 2 words that stick in the throat. Forgive me. And I like that a lot. And then I think with Theo that I felt something different in the last poem. in that final poem, because the line that I loved was talking with the angels. So it was just a little bit lighter there in those places. I like that.
Well, being a child, we all are born innocent, and we're all, I think, amazed and raising my children and kind of seeing through their eyes the amazement of life. It's incredible, but
Mhm.
we lose it along the way. And that's kind of been my path of forgetting who I am and then remembering who I am.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think most human beings do that. We forget.
Yeah, that's our journey through life.
Kyrie,
Well,
just before you,
that's what I find the Lottie does.
Yes.
I'll remember things that I've completely forgotten.
Yes. Yes.
And so all of a sudden, there's something there that wasn't there before.
I just wanted
Oh.
to say that I noticed Susilawati was very politely waiting. In fact, I think you should be British, Susilawati. You're so good at being politely in a queue while everybody else is jumping in.
Well, part of me is half English, so I know the expression "over the top" or OTT. I learned it well when I was living in England for 7 years in the 1990s. I would like to know how to pronounce your name. Is it Kyrie?
Kyrie. Yeah.
Kyrie. I've
Yeah.
got that correctly.
Yeah.
And I have a question as a Canadian. Which part of Canada are you from?
I'm from the West Coast. I grew up in the interior of British Columbia, and my parents live on Vancouver Island now.
And I grew up in pre-pulp mill Prince George when the air was fresh and sweet.
Prince George,
Yeah,
Williams Lake.
there you go.
There you go.
So our basketball team used to take bus trips down there to play your teams. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Although you're in a different generation than I am, but the point about being a single parent, I raised my daughter on my own after a divorce and with no financial support. So I was touched by a lot of the work that you had read us today. And I've always imagined that a single mom of a single daughter is a different experience than a single mom of a son, because I always imagined that I could, 2 sons?
2 sons.
Oh yeah. I always imagined that you could take your child to a hockey game or be in a team of where they were on a team or something like that. And I, as an INFJ in Myers-Briggs, I was always oversensitive to just wanting to be accepted in couples, because couples, if you've got a single mom of a single daughter, it was a very tricky place to walk.
Yep.
And I have the Hollands and a few families, 1 or 2 few families in Sewwood that are very helpful that way. They include us, but it's not been easy in that sense, finding your way. And I found out when I was 54, that was like 22 years ago, I only found out then, that these women are jealous. I had no designs on their husbands, but I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if it is different if you have a daughter and you're an only one daughter, and you develop this different kind of relationship as a mom too, right?
We're pretty close knit. I don't have boys who like sports. They're not into those kinds of things. My younger one's very artistic, and then my older one, he just wants to be a game designer. So he's into his games. And that's what he'll go into. He'll go into something in computers. And he says, I'm a bit odd, Mom. He's got longer hair than me, and he's 12. And they're beautiful, wonderful boys, and I absolutely love them. And I can't imagine having a daughter. I always thought it would be nice to have a daughter, but boys are simpler. just knowing how I was as a teenage girl, I'm like, I can deal with boys. I don't think I could deal. I mean, I would have, but I don't have to. Just dealing with
Well,
myself has been a challenge enough.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to the assumptions that people make, especially for a firstborn only. You
Yeah.
know, I was a firstborn only, and she's a firstborn only.
Yeah.
So it's been a delicate dance. Delicate dance.
I bet.
But your work really reminded me about that. Yes, hearing your poetry and words. So
Thank you.
yay, British Columbia.
Yay.
It really opens up inner rooms, doors, windows. That happened with me as well. I completely forgot about that, and suddenly I go into my own inner room, listening to you, and something comes up, which is mine. But nevertheless, it's really it's wonderful. I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Would you like me to read this last poem?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
yeah. So we have a wonderful closing.
I'm going to take notes.
It's called United Nirvana. I'm in a man's world, in a man's suit, and we are tarnished with forbidden fruit. 'Cause it's sweeter, you know, when it comes into ripeness, sink teeth into flesh, face dripping with juices. And you want to go deeper, right down to the core. Even the earth is feminine. You don't call her a whore. Methinks all you boys just want back in to where it's safe and warm before life did begin. A womb where you were cradled, had every need met, not crawling, walking, running towards imminent death. You need us, you heed us, you bleed us dry. You ignore us, you deplore us, you'll desire us until you die. We are women, hear us roar, not here to comply, but we can work with you if you're willing to try. Your bodies are stronger, this can't be denied. The strength that we carry wells up inside. It pushes you out and welcomes you in. It moves humanity forwards from original sin. Don't treat us as equals, because we are not. You reap and we sow. You stand and we squat. You destroy much more quickly while we long to create. Testosterone versus estrogen, the active debate. History tells us we were made for your pleasure, so we learn to tease, to bury our treasure. Somehow you were taught that by treating us mean, it was the only way that you could keep us keen. What a load of old tosh. We all long for respect. Kindness and laughter have a better effect on both of the sexes and all in between, whether masculine or feminine, lesbian, gay, binary, or queen. We all start out the same in the blink of an eye. Then the hormones take action and activate why. So there you have it, the age-old dilemma. Stop the battle of the sexes and find united nirvana.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Send out that one too.
I will.
Mm.
Yeah.
Please.
And there's one other that I'm going to send, but it's one that I can't read to you. The reader has to read it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay?
Really
I
looking
have one-
forward to it.
One last thing to say.
Yes.
Your name makes me think of Kyrie eleison,
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, right.
which makes me
exactly.
think of J.S.
Yes.
Bach. and all that incredible music.
Mozart's Requiem, Kyrie.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Or the song from Mr. Mister in the 80s, if you remember that. Anybody?
Oh, the one that started out, Kyrie eleison, that's the
Yeah.
first words. I remember that song. It's a beautiful song.
It's a good
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you gave us that extra one because it has a different, it packs a punch. It's full of meaning, but it's
Yeah,
also very
right.
playful and very
Yeah.
cheeky. It works on
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
levels. Really
Yeah.
enjoyable.
That's good.
Right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
God bless
All of you
everybody.
have a wonderful
Okay.
Christmas time
Yes. Merry
Yes.
Christmas, everybody,
Merry
and a New
Christmas.
Year.
and